Hello Indie fans, January kicked off 2021 in spectacular fashion, with a number of titles graduating out of early access and more early access titles to set up a year to come. And if the games constantly remain this good throughout, then we would be in for an awesome year in indie gaming. Special mention goes to Phoenotopia Awakening, the Zelda 2-like action-adventure RPG, which did technically release on Switch in December, so it doesn't count, but as always, my preference is to play on PC, and the port's pretty good. We begin with Iron Conflict, a conventional military real-time strategy game that is all about tactics, where you and 9 other players control 3 units each on a team for a total of 30, going to war against enemies in fixed maps. There's infantry, artillery and tanks, aircraft and anti-air weapons, so you do have to strategize, plan and mix and match accordingly, making for quite a neat experience, and it's interesting to see someone try their hand at a multiplayer only RTS in this day and age. The very strange Wobbledogs was one of the surprise hits of the month, being a pet simulator title where you take care of your own hive of mutating dogs. Yes, you heard that right. These creatures can evolve all sorts of weird appendages with a genetics system in play as you keep breeding and evolving them. It's very cute and strange, and is more of a sandbox experience without structured goals or objectives, but if you love keeping pets or things like ant farms or aquariums, then this is a great digital alternative. The retro FPS HROT was another surprise hit, being also retro and taking inspiration from shooters from the 90s. It is set in Czechoslovakia in 1986, where some unspecified disaster has occurred, and the game begins in a metro station in Prague, with madmen in raincoats, killers in suits and more to contend with. Another early access title, this contains 3 out of 8 planned episodes, so very much like Shareware Doom, and is certainly for anyone who has nostalgia for that era of games. I was really surprised to see Home Behind 2 get such a massive and popular reception, getting over 3,000 Steam reviews and about 4,000 concurrent players as of recording, so well deserved and worth a look. It's a roguelite RPG where you play as a group of revolutionary fighters against an authoritarian regime fighting for freedom in a country engulfed by civil war. Evidently, very Darkest Dungeon-like in the side-on positional combat, but it's in real time so you cannot wait around, with random events and a meta progression system to boot, making it another title to watch in early access.
3, 2, 1, fight.
Alright, so after 4 consecutive early access titles in a row, Main Assembly is a graduate of SID program, being a very promising freeform builder. I've picked the trailer showing off the battle bots-like mode, but there are also more traditional puzzle-type levels where you need to build vehicles and machines to complete an objective, feeling a little like Besiege, but of course with different building mechanics, but a good game, so check it out. I told you that I like Tycoon games, so we do have Snowtopia Ski Resort Tycoon as well, one that's pretty self-explanatory but awesome nonetheless. Build and mark out ski slopes and lifts while ensuring that you have the best facilities available for rest and relaxation as well. Not too many ski resort tycoon games, so it's nice to see someone try their hand at this in 2021. The Korean roguelike platformer Metal Unit was a shoo-in for this list since I do love this genre and this is a great entry. On top of the pixel art, I do like the sci-fi theme with aliens, mechanical monsters and dragons thrown into the mix, and with one of you in the comments having already spent 100 plus hours with this, take it as an endorsement from this community that it's one to check out. EVERSPACE 2 is from developer Rockfish Games, which is a larger studio, so perhaps more of an A game scale and not that indie, but nonetheless they are technically independent and are self-publishing, so I guess that counts. As compared to the original from 2017, this ditches the roguelite elements and instead is more of a traditional, expensive space sim RPG with loot, mining, crafting and a central story, looking also awesome and not to be missed. I got a very nice surprise when Ocean's Heart was confirmed for release last month, where you play as a young woman searching for a missing father with the classic Zelda-style action-adventure gameplay. There's combat, puzzles, crafting and more, all wrapped up with a wonderful pixel art look. Since I don't think we'll be getting any Link to the Past style titles from Nintendo anytime soon, it's up to indie developers to give us that experience, so if you love that classic but want something just a little fresh, this is a no-brainer.
Penniless, Lord Faraday could not endure the misery of his people. He and his men set sail. After weeks at sea, a great storm hit. This is where our endeavor began. Faraday scoured the Isles for his maroon crewmen, where he found the cursed harpoon of legend.
As expected, despite being published by Devolver, Olija has not hit as massively as their other titles, but nonetheless is a great action platformer that's worth a play. You play as a man trapped behind enemy lines, finding and wielding a cursed harpoon in order to get home. It's not super challenging, super long, or even super pretty, but what's there is very well made and assembled together into one of the best of the month.
And he returned the favor in kind. The world around them remained cursed, but something unlocked. He pledged himself, but not just to her crown. The darkest reaches of her rule found themselves ignited. Many small discoveries led the tides to reverse their course. This remained their secret.
I love the look of Curious Expedition too, so you cannot say that I just love looking at pixel art titles, but this roguelite exploration RPG is certainly worth picking up. It's one part choose your own adventure, one part RPG and one part management and exploration, and I've gone on record to say that exploration to me is the most important part of games, but this title did check that box very nicely. The procedural elements of the roguelite allows for some replayability and is a no-brainer for roguelite fans. Of course, Cyber Shadow makes the cut, being one of my most anticipated titles of the year, and glad to say that it does not disappoint. It's a linear action platformer with some amount of backtracking due to being able to access new areas with new abilities, but not exactly a Metroidvania per se, where you play as the sole survivor of your clan and have to defeat a powerful foe. I've seen comparisons being made between this and The Messenger, both of which are retro ninja-themed titles, but I don't think it's quite the fair comparison since they're going for something a little different and both are worth a play. Another pleasant surprise for me in January was Ender Lily's Quietus of the Night, a Japanese-made dark fantasy Metroidvania title that has a tremendous amount of potential. Playing as the last surviving holy priestess in a world where a never-ending rain corrupts and blights everything, seek the truth and the source of this evil as you recruit fallen knights to help you on your quest. I thought that the indirect control of having other characters fight for you would be strange, but it feels okay and is not a concern. I would say that this does feel like Hollow Knight crossed with Vigil the Longest Night and Momodora, so if any of that sounds good to you, this is a title to watch. Unfortunately, It is once again an early access Metroidvania with the full release planned for spring 2021, so fingers crossed it will be done before the end of the year. One of the titles that absolutely blew up last month is the factory builder Dyson Sphere program. Think Factorial but with much more vibrant 3D visuals and a much larger scale, and you get the idea. You play as a robot who has to build a Dyson Sphere to harness 100% of the power of a star, having to traverse from planet to planet in order to do so. It's that same compelling gameplay loop of having to optimize conveyor belts and production chains, with a whole bunch of upgrades along a tech tree for you to explore. Now, it's in early access, and the danger of this type of game and this type of release is that there may be patches that break your entire factory, but part of the fun is rebuilding and re-optimization, so I'll leave you to decide, but this is well on its way to being Factorial-like in status right now. I know that some of you are not a fan of early access titles, so I had to give the top spot to a title not in early access, that being the Korean roguelike platformer Skull the Hero Slayer. Play as a lowly skeleton warrior who gains powers when putting on certain skulls, having to fight against an invading Imperial army who kidnapped the Demon King. I like it when developers allow you to play as the traditional bad guys, so this was of interest, combined with very fluid and awesome almost Dead Cells level action, and you already won me over. For the debut title from a team that started to work together in school, the end results are tremendously impressive, so I cannot wait to see what's next from them, taking the #1 spot. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos, and I will see you after the jump.